Cutler. Well, his name is Bob Cutler now, but he's got all the documentation on it. It's just bizarre. We come over, we were Johansson's, and they changed the name. Wow.
You gotta let her know, Dan, that she's being recorded.
See, the reason, go ahead.
No.
I thought you'd say that. The reason my folks came is that they just passed that Volstead Act. You could come here and they'd give you land if you'd live on it and improve it for 5 years. They thought they could come here and just settle on the land and be the owners. But by the time they got here, why, the railroads and everybody had bought up all that land. Get it? People came with money, older people.
Originally 160 acres, right? Was the original.
I think it was 160. Of course, my dad ended up, when he got to this country, he had 59 cents in his pocket, and when he left it, he had 670 acres of land. So he did all right. But like I said, it was a lot of hills. If it had been out here, it'd been great. Can't use any pivots where we lived.
This town has a core of like maybe only 8 families that got the bulk of the land, the Bungers and the Heinrichs and the...
Yeah, you learn that pretty quick.
Everybody's related.
Oh.
Everybody's related.
And I think around Minden it was the Swedes. The Swedes got that land around Minden.
Yeah, and
Or
Axtell
Axtell.
is
Yeah.
way Swedish base.
Yeah.
Holdridge is way Swedish base.
Yeah. My husband did the electrical work at Axtell. They had that home for children.
The mission, yeah.
Yeah, Bethesda Mission. Boy, he said that was a sad sight. Those kids all have those big heads.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah,
people that live right here on this corner house as you're going out of town, she is the administrator for the mission in Holdridge, and he for the mission in Axtell.
Oh.
Did good jobs.
Yeah.
And then my neighbor over here, just a little west, she works there. There's probably 6, 7 people in town that work at the mission up there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
In our day, why, the dentist that was the dentist, he lived out here in the mission and I had a dental hospital. And he lived across the street from us. And we used to come out and see him, visit him. That was a pathetic place.
Do you remember when the Zeppelin Hindenburg went down? Can you recall that?
The Hindenburg, that big airship?
Yeah.
I don't recall it, no.
You don't remember?
You don't remember what year?
Oh, 34, 30. I certainly don't remember it.
Yeah, I guess I remember it. I remember what
33, I think, or 34.
Yeah, I remember that then. Mm-hmm. Of course, we didn't have the radios and the televisions and all that either.
Yeah.
And when my brother started school, we always talked German at home, and he couldn't salute the flag. He couldn't learn the pledge, and my dad said, "I'll teach it to you in German," and my mother said, "Well, they'll never get by." Dana's trying to get rid of something. I hope it's good with beer. And anyway, he learned it in German then, and my mother said that'll never go. And he said, "Well, it did for my naturalization papers." He said, I couldn't say the Pledge of Allegiance in English. I said it in German, and the judge said that's just fine. But boy, that teacher, she didn't think that was just fine. And the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, a lumber wagon came into our yard, and there was about 6 farmers in there with shotguns. And my mother went out, and it was just daylight, and then she came back in, and she said, "Dad, they want you to come out." So my dad went out, and they just drove off and took him to Red Cloud. And then I think the judge then, I think it was McNanny, he said. But anyway, the judge probably was German too because he said, well, that's just, you farmers ought to be ashamed of yourselves to bring this man here. He's a good citizen. And then they wanted to bring him back home, and the judge wouldn't let him. The judge brought him home that night after work. First time we saw a car.
Huh. What year was that?
That would have been about, let's see, maybe 1904.
Do you remember the Volstead Act, Prohibition? Do you
Yeah, that's what my dad brought. That's what brought my dad and his two brothers and his sisters. They were all teenagers, and they came over to get in on that act. German, they sent them a lot of advertising to come over. They were begging him. One time, somebody said to me, they said, "Well, they raised such a fuss about the Mexicans," and he said the Germans and the Swedes and the Irish did the same thing. And I said, "Oh no, they." She said they invaded the country too. I said they didn't invade the country. They were invited. In fact, they were begged to come. This government, they wanted people to settle here. Otherwise, and look what happened. Look at the country now to what it was then.
Yeah. So you remember the Dirty 30s?
Well, do I ever?
I bet.
Do you?
No, I'm not that.
No, I was going to say you don't.
No, I was born in 46.
Oh, just hearsay you might remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one day I was home visiting my folks, and my brother was plowing a field across the road. So I took him out a jug of water, and while he had just started to drink it, we saw something coming up from the south, and it was coming at a tremendous speed, and we really got scared. He unhitched the horses. He had 4 horses on that plow. Send them in there, try to send them toward home. He wasn't very far, just across the road. And then we got on a horse and went home. And when we got in the yard, why, everybody was down in the cave, and my dad was standing there with the door open. And he was kind of upset about it that we didn't come sooner. But that thing comes so fast, and the horses never went. Even the horse we had on, we tried to head her toward the barn when we jumped off. But she went with the other horses, and it took us 2 days before we find them. They went through fences. They were all cut up. It was just, oh, my dad was just so upset. But anyway, when we came out of the cave, it was just like going into a different world. The dust in the yard, it was always about an inch thick, and that was all blown away. It was just like shale. It was a terrible thing. And then afterward, it was in the paper, that thing that rolled in was a mile high, and it was going about 100 miles an hour.
Just a big dust cloud, huh?
Yeah. It come through Oklahoma. It started in Oklahoma, ended up in Maine.
Jesus.
They found the Oklahoma's red dirt in Maine. Isn't that amazing? That was the most terrible thing I ever saw.
Did people even think that the world was coming to an end and
Well,
stuff at
yeah,
that time?
yeah, they did.
Because it was just,
We were almost wishing it would.
yeah.
And it was so hot. Oh, and 1934 was just terrible. Hot in the summertime, cold in the wintertime. And the grasshoppers were so bad, when the corn got about that high, they ate it off and went down the ground and even ate the kernel. You couldn't raise anything either for 7 years. And a lot of people lost their farms, but my dad hung on to his. But the really sad part was I had 4 brothers that were teenagers, and they said they finally thought that it was just too much of a burden on the parents to feed them, and they went out and looked for work. I've got some articles on that too if you ever want to read them, what all they run into. So, yeah, we saw some hard times.
What were you doing when you heard about Pearl Harbor being hit?
Oh, that was terrible.
You know exactly what you were doing, I bet, don't you?
Yeah, well, we were having a reunion that day. I lived in Hastings and my parents were lived in Blue Hill. They came to Hastings because my brother was coming from Illinois, and he announced. He said I joined the Air Force, and my dad was really upset about it because we were fighting Germany at the time, and he had
Yeah.
my brother fought his cousins in Germany. and but he volunteered. He was so mad about that. He volunteered. He said, "I'm going over there and kill some Japanese." And my other brother was in the Navy, and he was in Japan at that time when Hiroshima was bombed.
Uh-huh.
And he always said that that was the wrong thing to do for Truman to do. And everybody said, well, that saved a lot of Americans' lives. And he said, yeah, but he said all the Japanese men were at war, and that was all women and children in those cities, and those people were just running wild. That napalm that come down, that burned them right through their clothes, burned their clothes off. And oh, this kid's screaming, and he had a little girl of his own at home. He could take it. I think what he thought, what we all think, I think the country should have been able to talk that out instead of killing. Well, there was hundreds of people they killed in, I think 500,000 in that one town. So, but they don't talk any better then than they do now. All they do in Congress is argue, hate each other, and they aren't getting anything done.
I had a friend that was Japanese, and they've been here, and his grandpa was like second generation here, and when they took everything they owned
Oh
and
yeah,
put them in camps out in the Mojave Desert out there.
yeah, that was
They
terrible.
they had strawberry fields there in Arizona, and Matt's was just a little boy, but he remembers all this going on, and they were taken right out of their homes and put in these camps. Took their real estate from them, their farms, and where his grandpa farmed in Orange Bay, right now where his father farmed is South Coast Plaza, which is a huge mall that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, Matt's perished in a fire, but his son, Danny, it's been maybe 7 years ago, finally got a settlement from the government. They took everything they owned. They had a suitcase and
Yeah.
for fear that, they could be spies or...
We lived at Scotts Bluff at that time. The business people were Japanese.
They took them away, didn't they?
Took them
Locked the
away.
businesses up and everything.
Yeah,
Terrible.
that was a terrible thing. They just were so suspicious of everybody.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Now they say the country was laid out by geniuses, and now it's run by idiots.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Need a cleansing, that's for sure.
Our forefathers did a pretty good job for a good many years, but yeah.
Government just went to hell.
Yeah, it did, and the people that were supposed to take care of us were stealing our money.
So what did you guys go to California for? When you tell me the story when you went with your brothers to California? You moved away from here because there was no work?
Oh yeah, we did that when we were really young.
Really young?
Hmm. Yeah, there was no work here. We went there, and everybody said, "Oh, go to California. They got a lot of work out there." Well, we went to California. Had 3 little kids. When we got about into Nevada, why Kathy bit the nipple off of Bob's bottle. He was about 9 months old. Well, there was no way he could eat. So we finally stopped in Nevada at Reno. Then to find a store in the city was something else. But I never forgot that's the only time I was in Reno, so I never forgot it.
So what'd you do? End up in the Bay Area, San Francisco, or where?
No,
You
we were
went to
at
Reno.
Lodi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we could get a job picking tomatoes.
That's a big ag valley there,
Yeah,
still today.
I bet it is.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
ag down there.
And it cost us, and they had kind of a camp there, and it cost us just as much to live in that camp as we earned to picking tomatoes.
Sure, company store. That's the American way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the way it is. Oh, it was a terrible experience. Some of them say that John Steinbeck lied because what he told the truth about California, I never believed he lied. From what I saw, people were just, they were just desperate.
Well, that state is, I mean, the whole United States is in trouble, but California is totally inside out.
Yep.
They're never going to see daylight financially.
No,
It's just terrible.
I got a grandson and his wife and their 4 boys live there.
Oh yeah, I got my daughter and son live over there. And
Yeah, and then I
all
got
my friends,
a
a lot of
couple of
friends.
a granddaughter and a great granddaughter. Oh, they're all talking about it. Then they got really upset about it when I guess it was the Republicans came to Washington D.C. and had a what do they call it, an effigy when they burned somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They had built an effigy and burned Obama, the president.
Well, maybe that might.
Yeah, that made the Republican Party mad because that made them look bad, although they didn't have nothing to do with it. They were the same party.
Should look at a bar.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay in California then?
Well, that time I picked tomatoes, not very long. we were worse off there than we were in Hastings.
Yeah.
And when we got back to Hastings, we were so glad because our apartment hadn't been rented yet.
So you went clear out there, and then it didn't work out, so you come clear back.
Yeah, come clear back.
Out on train or?
No, we drove.
Oh, you drove.
We had an old Whippet.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And on the way out there, when we got to Laramie, they cautioned us not to go on. I think our brakes were burned out. But of course that just made we were so desperate we went on anyway. And I guess that's when the brakes burned out anyway. When we came back, we came the same route, and when we saw how we went down that mountain, stopped off on both sides of the road. we didn't have headlights either. Maybe they didn't even have headlights. That would have been in about 30. I doubt whether they did. Cars were pretty. Well, I don't know. But anyway, we didn't see it going down. Maybe we were just too scared to look out the window. And I think it was night too. But when we came back, we went down that mountain without brakes. But I guess we had lights. So, yeah, that was not. Times weren't good. And when we were in high school, a lot of kids back then in the late 20s didn't go to, farm kids didn't even go to high school. But I made up my mind I was going to go to high school, and then my 2 older sisters, one was 4 years older, and by the way, she's still living, and she's going to be 102. and then my other sister was 2 years older. We worked all summer and put our money in the bank, and when we got to Hastings, the president closed the banks because they were so crooked. See, they were even crooked back then too, just like they are.
Don't change.
Do you remember the WPA at all? Can you remember that?
Oh yeah.
There's over by your way. I'm trying to think where I saw it. It's a little lake. It sits. It would be east of Holstein. And maybe a little bit south, but that was a WPA project. They built cabanas in there, and there's a big marker there from the WPA. Have you ever?
Yeah.
Can't think of the name of that. It's a little.
I bet it was.
Well, it was there 10 years ago. I'm sure it's still there.
I bet it's still
But
there.
there's a historical marker there about the WPA project. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
We ought to get a picture of that
Yeah.
sometime.
You don't know the lake of which I speak, though. You don't. It's God.
No?
You live in Atlas, do you?
I don't. Do you, Dan?
We got the internet.
Got an internet.
Hey, get your droid phone out.
It's got to be over by what's another little town over there? Not Reagan. Bladen. You know where Bladen's over your way?
Oh,
there.
yes, I know where
It's
that is.
near Bladen. A little fishing.
Silver Lakes?
Huh?
Oh,
Silver Lakes? Silver, what's the school that's over there?
Silver Lake, but it's.
That's not it.
I don't think so.
Do you mean over by Hildreth?
No, where's this Hildreth?
I mean, not Hildreth.
It wouldn't, let's see.
I stumbled onto it going from Holstein. I went east.
All you got.
Would it be Camel?
No,
Over by Campbell. Yeah.
no, it's over. You got if you go to Minden, then you got Norman, Holstein, Roseland. Then there's Kennesaw, Juniata. It's south of those.
Let's see, I
Just
don't
slide
even
your
know what's
finger
in
and
there.
there's a map.
That'd be kinda in your neighborhood, wouldn't it? In the vale or?
How do you scroll up on
Front,
it?
No,
Use
like,
your finger
use
on
your
the,
finger.
on the pad.
It's not going to show on this. Bladen, Blue Hill.
Is it by Blue Hill? I know somebody from Blue Hill. I can text her real quick.
What are you looking for?
I just don't remember a lake around Blue Hill. Let's see.
Highway 4. Bladen.
Are you okay?
What'd she say?
I said,
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just trying to ride it around a little bit.
You want some more
See
pillows?
if I can move.
You want some more pillows to put you up?
Some more pills?
Some more pillows.
Oh, no, I think he's not using the
See, it's showing. I imagine these are little ponds here that's showing here.
Yeah.
So unnamed. Look at this.
Do you want another chair?
I'm fine.
You aren't using it, were you?
Nope.
Yeah, you got long legs. You can even sit back and come on too.
You remember when Eisenhower got elected?
Yeah, I remember that.
His main deal, I remember when Truman, I was that was 51, but I was only 5, but I'd gone with my dad to where the polling to go vote, and he ran against Adlai Stevenson,
Yeah.
and my dad had a gorgeous head of hair, as did Adlai Stevenson. Well, Eisenhower was bald, and I asked my dad, why would you vote for somebody with no hair?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
But he won by a landslide, and I remember that my father telling me, one of the main things on his platform was the interstate system.
Is that the Eisenhower?
It's Eisenhower Highway up here,
It was, yeah.
Interstate 80. But this was his deal, and when he was in Europe, in the Second World War, he saw the Autobahn that Hitler had made. And when he'd come over, he said, boy, we ever get in a fix, we've got no way to get from one coast to the other conveniently. So that was a big part of his platform was putting the interstate system in.
That's probably what got him elected, but he was a good general. But that doesn't always make him a good president.
No. He was, as I recall, he was the last 5-star general there was. Does that sound right? I think so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was gonna say too, when we got up here and the banks closed, like we didn't have any money, but we had an aunt here, so we moved in with her. Well, she wasn't very happy about that.
What year would that have been?
Oh, that'd been about 1928, and maybe 29, probably 29, and so she put that in the paper, big, strong German girls want a place to work for room and board, and boy, we had jobs before night. Free labor. So,
Do you still speak any German?
not very good.
No.
We couldn't talk German.
Yeah.
But my folks came, it was soon after the World War. That's why Dad got in all that trouble, was because my brother saluted the flag in German.
What year were you born?
1912.
So you could have been a flapper.
Yeah, I went through that age too, and the,
Did you?
yeah, and the tomboy age.
Yeah.
And we never did. They closed the banks, and finally we got 10% on our money, and then they said that we'd get the rest of it, but we never did. And that's how this stuff is going to end up too.
Yeah.
So
Just keep printing more money, and that's the worst thing you can do. It's
yeah, well,
terrible.
yeah, terrible, and big debts can be bad too. Yeah. I feel sorry for the people that coming up have to pay the taxes.
Well, she knows it breaks my heart. This little gal working for me, 20 years old. Her Medicare and Social Security amounts to a little over $1 an hour with the workman's comp. She got to live to be 95 to collect a dime.
Isn't that a shame?
Well, and what's bad is the employer, I'm paying into her, I gotta match what she puts in.
Well,
She's never
yeah,
gonna see a dime of it. It's terrible.
yeah, it is. I thought everybody got it.
No,
No,
Not Social Security.
no.
our generation will never see
They'll
it.
have to,
Yeah.
I don't know, you guys get like a monthly or quarterly statement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're encouraging people to look for different avenues for retirement. And
Yeah.
I mean, every quarter I get a